you and I have, we've been resurrected. I don't know what your drunken state was like, but it was hell on earth to be resurrected, to come back and help somebody else find the way out of the darkness.
I heard it through the grapevine. Welcome. It's the AA Grapevine half-hour variety hour featuring the collected voices of Alcoholics Anonymous. I'm Don, an alcoholic in Greensboro, North Carolina.
Hey, Don. Hey, everybody. I'm Sam, an alcoholic in Palm Springs, California.
Hiya, Sam.
What's up, Mr. Don?
Well, the most exciting thing that's happened to me is I got elected as the alternate DCM for my district.
This makes me so happy.
Well, Sam, you know where I come from and how for 23 years I talked about how I'm glad somebody will do general service, but it's not for me. It's like herding cats.
Gosh, it's almost like Krusty the old timer, got softened by doing general service.
I know. And here I am stepping up and volunteering. So I'm happy to do it.
And I think the district will be well served.
Particularly the other people who didn't want to stand for it were very happy that I was willing to do it because the alternate DCM had to step down. So what the DCM was happy about was...
What are these things you're being... What is a DCM?
Well, really, I guess the DCM is the district committee member. The district committee member is kind of the chairperson of the business meeting for the district and also a member of the committee. Well, let's not go into that.
They are a part of the general service structure, which is communication up and down the upside down triangle. And we'll leave it at that.
Yeah. And so the alternate DCM probably, steps in for the DCM whenever the DCM can't do something. And the other thing that they do is probably are prepared and ready to stand as DCM and become the next DCM.
I think we should call you the vice DCM instead of the alternate because you've got a lot of vices and it's just perfect.
I think vice is probably appropriate. And also, I like the power aspect of it, Sam. It seems like you got more power than the alternate.
Power.
Well, the hardest thing for me in general service that I have learned that I didn't know. I mean, I knew that I was a forceful personality. I actually had a girlfriend break up with me one time back when I was drinking. 2 reasons. One was the beer cans on the night table. And I said, why are you going to go to sleep without beer at night? What's she talking about? And the other one was, your personality is so large, it's too big for 2 people in the same house. I can't live in the house with you. So, which is kind of a nice way of saying, you are a big
bleepity bleep
asshole. It was a sweet way of saying it. So
she was Southern.
Yeah. Your personality is just so large. It's a very sweet Southern way, passive-aggressive way of saying you're intolerable. So,
but that didn't change your drinking or anything, right?
No, I got another girlfriend. What I discovered in general service, if you are chairing a meeting, you're not supposed to be running everything. You're facilitating rather than controlling and power driving.
And maybe you don't even you can have an opinion, but you're better off not sharing it, right?
The idea is to get the opinion of the group and do that, not come up with an idea and railroad it through. And my natural tendency is to do just that, the wrong thing. So I really had to learn how to do this because I'm still not good at it, but I'm better than I was.
I think it's really cool that you're doing this, not beyond the fact that it just makes me giggle, but also because my experience in general service over the years has been, it has helped me interact with small and large groups of people in a way that I never would have done if I hadn't gotten the experiences that I've had in general service.
It's kind of learning leadership. How to guide a group of people in a way that is not controlling. and how to deal with different personalities and how to not react with anger and not react out of my ego, but to step back. These are the things that we learn in service work that can carry out into the rest of the world. It's
And I
beautiful, really.
cannot wait for these things to start showing up in how you do the podcast.
Someday they will. But Sam, that's enough of that. We've got to move on. And Sam, who do we have on the podcast today?
Don, today's guest is Susan R. in Elkton, Maryland. And afterwards, we'll answer a question or two sent to the Ask It basket.
Ooh, we have a couple of good questions.
Yes. But first,
the news.
the
The Trustees Committee on Cooperation with the Professional Community, Treatment, and Accessibilities is seeking AA members in the U.S. and Canadian Armed Forces to discuss their experience, strength, and hope as sober members of AA in the military. These will be recorded, anonymity-protected interviews. The goal of this effort is to improve AA outreach to military members in the U.S. and Canada. Interested members can volunteer or get more information about this project by writing to militaryoutreach@aa.org. I'm here with Patrick C., the International Convention Coordinator, with an update on the upcoming July 2025 International Convention in Vancouver, British Columbia. This will mark the 90th anniversary of the founding of our fellowship. Is that right, Patrick?
It will, Don. One of the questions that I'm getting these days is folks are asking me about making their travel plans to get to Vancouver. I do have some information, a mock-up schedule about when things will start for the convention and when things will end.
Is it a calendar of events?
Calendar of events. So the actual convention is July 3rd through the 6th. That's a Thursday through a Sunday. The festivities begin at 7:30 p.m. on Thursday the 3rd, and they actually end on Sunday morning at 11 a.m., which will be July 6th. So anybody who's wanting to make their travel arrangements can know now that the event ends at 11 a.m. on Sunday. And we do have some discount codes.
Ooh, let's have the discount codes.
We do have a discount code with Air Canada. If you book through aircanada.com, you can enter the promotion code RF4VA681. And if anybody wants more information about that code, you can reach out to me at my email address at 2025ic@aa.org.
Will that code also be on the website?
It is. It's in our registration brochure on aa.org/international convention. And this is the first convention that we've ever done a virtual session.
Ah,
There is some production costs involved for making that happen. And so we have set the registration fee for anyone who's unable to attend in person, but wants to experience a portion of the international convention virtually, to sign up and register for the virtual program session track. And it's a $35 registration fee.
all right.
So no matter if you're watching that alone in the comfort of your own home, or you're getting together as a group, everybody needs to pay the $35 registration fee so that we can make sure that the costs are covered and that we're being self-supporting.
Gotcha. This is the cost of putting the thing on.
Exactly. We want to make sure that the event is self-supporting.
Well, that's good. There's going to be a hybrid option.
Yeah, it'll be exciting to see how we pull that off for the first time.
Okay. There's a little tentative tone there, but
we've all had some great experience though, right? About doing hybrid sessions or virtual sessions in other conventions and throughout AA.
yes.
So we're going to pull it off just fine, and we're looking forward to it. Another exciting piece that's going on right now, I don't know if you're aware, but we collectively need about 800 AA speakers or moderators to be tapped on the shoulder to serve at the international convention.
Oh, where are they coming from?
This is a huge number of people. Well, the first thing that they have to be is obviously somebody who's attending the convention.
Yeah.
So they have to be in person have registered, but we do get AA speaker suggestions from the following sources. One, area delegates from the US and Canada. We get them from intergroup and central office managers. We ask our World Service meeting delegates. And finally, we reach out to international general service offices and ask them for some suggested AA speakers. So from those 4 different groups, we ask each individual to supply us with up to 5 suggestions. And then that helps us get to the collective 800 plus people that we need to fill all these slots.
So if anybody listening has suggestions, get in touch with one of those people, your delegate or
their intergroup or central office manager. If they're international, maybe their World Service meeting delegate or the International General Service Office as well.
Gotcha.
We're at 106 suggestions and we need 800.
There are 800 meetings that will be going on?
Good question. Each meeting has a moderator and 3 speakers. So every time there's a time slot and a topic for singleness of purpose or whatever the topic might be of the particular session, there's 1 moderator and 3 speakers. So you put all those together as far as them happening all through the day on Saturday and all through the day on Sunday. It's quite a number of.
This convention is going to be for attendees. For me, it's going to be like tapping into an endless geyser of AA wisdom pouring out of all of these different meetings everywhere. And, it's exciting.
I know. Just think of all the people you'll meet and all the voices of experience you'll hear from across the globe. It's really exciting.
Sounds great, Patrick. We'll see you next month.
You're welcome. Look forward to seeing you next month.
Hi, folks. We need your stories on the individual traditions. Pick one and write about your or your group's experience with it. How has a tradition played a part in your life? How has your understanding of a tradition changed? What is a personal experience where a tradition played a part? Visit aagrapevine.org for guidelines and to submit.
My name is Susan, and I'm an alcoholic, and I am from Elkton, Maryland, even though I served in Delaware. I'm close enough to Maryland to spit both in Delaware and in Pennsylvania.
But
so
spitting is a rude habit.
Well, you do it in the woods, so nobody sees it.
Were you in service work?
I served.
As?
You name it, I served it.
So that's why you were grinning like a Cheshire cat and nodding as Don was relating his experience with this and
trying to behave.
Yeah. One of my favorite positions was DCM. At the time, I was chair of my group, and it was a big deal for me to be chair of my group. And I asked a close friend, what's it like to be a DCM? And he said, it's just like being the chair of your group, except you have more people.
Yeah.
So I went into the district and said, I'm here to be your DCM. And they said, thank God.
Now, I'm going to guess that you did not become DCM in the first year of your sobriety.
Oh, no.
So let's go back in time a little bit then. What was going on that had you come into Alcoholics Anonymous?
I tried to kill myself.
Well, there you go.
Yeah.
And I survived. It was the early 80s. Nobody knew what to do with me. I was staying with my parents. My whole awareness of them is the 5 o'clock cocktail hour. My mother didn't understand why I couldn't have two. So I came in after a suicide attempt. My medical doctor who treated me didn't want to put me in a rehab because they were worried about insurance possibilities that maybe later in life, if it was on my record that I was an alcoholic, I couldn't get insurance.
Wow.
That's what the early 80s were like.
That's the stigma of alcoholism showing up where I wouldn't have expected it.
So before I tried to commit suicide, I taught in my field. My field is German language and literature. I taught German It was a student of mine who had a son who went to meetings close by in Newark, and he took me to my first meeting. Its nickname was the Zoo. I went to the zoo every day at noon, and it was back when it was still smoky, and women had to go through a gauntlet of men to get to the meeting. So it was touchy feely.
Oh,
Well, I don't think everybody recognizes how threatening it is to have a large group of people standing outside of a door smoking that you have to walk through to go into the meeting. When I was new in sobriety, a couple of meetings where you had to do that, I never actually felt a threat, but it made me uncomfortable. Maybe we shouldn't do that.
Yeah, well, a lot's changed. I didn't come back to AA for 14 years. So I went back to the same location. I came into a meeting at 7 a.m., and the feeling walking into that meeting was like night and day.
One of the things I really like to share with newcomers is to not go to one meeting, but go to 3 different meetings before you make up your mind about AA. But you got to go to 3 meetings in different places, different groups.
And I always tell people that I'm still a member of that meeting I went back to, except it's online now. I went to 7 a.m. for 22 years in the same place. And we had beginners meetings. Every time somebody new came in, I took what I'd learned and I say, try other meetings, connect with somebody in here. Good. So I learned a lot.
That just gave me chills, because that is exactly what we do, is we take our experience and we share it with someone else to try and help.
Yeah. And we built an incredibly strong, a meeting of hope.
Susan, you participate in a lot of online meetings. What got that started for you, and where has it led?
Well, I only do online groups. The world got COVID.
That's when I went online.
And I'm still in the same 7 a.m. group. Another guy and I decided to start a meeting with Zoom.
So you stuck with your same people that you knew from online meetings?
Initially. And it's at that point that we started talking about online intergroup and opening up our world to a broader audience.
What is online intergroup?
It is an intergroup that's just online or for hybrid meetings. It grew out of the bulletin board system in the early 80s, and it was a bulletin board system. Our group was formed about 1990 called the Lamplighters. That was just an email group. It'd be a meeting online constantly. And from there, the San Diego Convention. And there was a cyber suite in 1995 at the International Convention. A group created a nonprofit entity. And since then, we've been growing, but not so rapidly as during COVID.
I'm sure.
We're about 50 or so groups listed before COVID, and we have 9,000 meetings and groups listed.
Wow.
Now, internationally.
And that's at aa-intergroup.org.
Correct.
And when I go to that page, I see online meetings and I see get help. So online meetings will take me into a page that lets me search for meetings, including meetings that are happening right now.
Correct.
But the other thing I'm really interested in too, this get help, chat via email with members of the online intergroup of AA 12-step committee. What's that?
That's just like an intergroup that's in person. There's somebody on the phone. The steppers are a committee, international in scope, that just wait for emails to come in asking for help. So it's just like the telephone, except it's email.
It's like the digital version of those folks early on in AA who were sending letters to the General Service Office.
That's right. Exactly.
And you respond immediately?
Pretty much, yeah. And it's in multiple languages. Many of the people that write in are looking for a local meeting to go to. Mm-hmm. So the steppers all have resources where the local intergroups are around the world. So if they need a meeting in Timbuktu, we can direct them to the closest meeting.
Gotcha.
Or if they have the wherewithal to do something online, we can say, look at our directory. It's in multi-languages.
And it adjusts for time zone too, doesn't it?
Sure. So what you're seeing, Sam, what Don would see being across the country, you'd be looking at what, 11 o'clock, Sam?
Yeah, it's a quarter till 11.
Yeah, the meeting's your time and done.
Quarter till one here.
Right.
That's fantastic. Now, at the time of the recording of this episode, it's before your first international convention. But I'm seeing something on here, and unfortunately, we don't know how it turned out, but I'm seeing something that's already incredible, and that's on your front page saying that you've reached over 3,000 convention registrations.
It's more than that. We're pushing for 5.
I think it's a pretty safe thing to say that this is probably going to happen next year as well.
It sounds like a cool idea. A few days of meetings. Will it be everybody together or break out into separate groups?
There are 4 rooms. There's a main room and 3 breakout rooms in different languages. The theme is all recovery, except for my talk. I'll talk about what the organization is, but it's all about recovery in their language, including ASL.
Fantastic.
We're going to have 5 languages Farsi. So one whole room is going to be the Iranians. We're going to have Portuguese, French, Spanish, and American Sign Language.
I find it remarkable how AA is spread everywhere in every language.
It is.
It is.
We speak the language of the heart regardless of what's going on.
Susan, you are currently the chair of Online Intergroup of Alcoholics Anonymous, right?
That's correct.
How has your service in OIAA affected your recovery?
My current service sponsor, he helped me negotiate the minefields of service. I mean, personalities. We talked a little bit before the meeting about the factions that you see, somebody coming in with an agenda they want to achieve in service, and the difference between learning to come in with an agenda or top-down management versus facilitation. I think service in OIAA has made me vastly more humble because I am older, and you would think an online intergroup would be populated by young kids. I can tell you it's not. Just 10 years younger or 15 years younger. They're so much more technologically able than I am. And I think I keep up with stuff. Mm-hmm. I'm humbled by how the wave of the world is sweeping over me, and I'm still involved. I'm still relevant in some way, and I can bring my long experience in service now to bear to help people that don't know what an AA service board is and what we do, what OIAA is and what we do. It's really simple. We list meetings and we provide services for our groups, but we answer other questions as well. It can be this unity convention, trying to unite the world in recovery in 3 different time zones. It doesn't all start at Susan's time and Eastern time. Each day doesn't start at 10 a.m. Susan's time. Day 1 starts in Australia.
Yeah.
Day 2 starts North and South America. And day 3 starts 10 a.m. Moscow time. So we're going around the world.
That is so fantastic. I absolutely love that you're doing this. And I am so grateful for the existence of Online Intergroup of Alcoholics Anonymous and the work that you're doing. Thank you so much for doing this. We've got another segment, and that is the Ask It Basket.
It's time for the Ask It Basket.
What's that?
That's the name Bill W. gave the basket that was passed around for questions. We want your questions for our guests.
General recovery questions, newcomer questions, AA history.
Got a question for the Ask It Basket? Go to aagrapevine.org and click on podcast.
And now let's dip into the basket.
These are 2 questions we received in an email from Madeline M. First, what happens if I meet someone I know at an AA meeting?
Ooh, I remember that.
I remember that.
Yeah, that was a scary moment for me. Yeah, I don't remember if someone pointed out or if I just got it, but they're in there for the same reason. So if I meet someone I know, I'm meeting another alcoholic in an AA meeting who is trying to improve their life.
It's okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I met my pastor.
Ah,
By surprise.
Actually, it was sort of the other way around. I don't know whether my reputation preceded me, but he called me up and he said, let's have coffee. At coffee, he said, I'm a recovering alcoholic. I said, so am I. And I invited him to my group.
Ah.
I guess the funniest thing, because I was a teacher for 25 years, is to have my students come.
Were you concerned about your students breaking your anonymity as being a member of AA? Because that could be a problem for a teacher.
Yeah, I did have trouble.
That would be time for a discussion with the person. Let them know
Yeah,
about
yeah,
anonymity. Somebody new.
yeah. It is in our meeting, what you see here, what you hear here, when you leave here, let it stay here, is always part of the format. And it's on a sign.
Mm. Yeah, not sharing who I see in a meeting is having respect for the other people in the meeting.
I remember the story about a closed meeting where an elementary school teacher was a member of that meeting, and someone attending brought their elementary school child to this closed meeting, and that child knew the teacher.
Mm-hmm.
It was a potentially very messy situation. Meetings are closed for a reason.
Yeah, we need both open meetings and closed meetings because there are people whose anonymity needs to be protected. But back to the question, what happens if I meet someone I know at meetings? It happened to me. This is about my third meeting. I walked in and there was this, I'm an artist, and there was an artist that I looked up to a great deal. And he was sitting there in the meeting and it freaked me out to see him. For one, there's a feeling of what's he going to think about me coming to an AA meeting? It's like he's going to judge me for coming. Of course, he's there for the same reason I am. And he just walked right up to me and said, Don, what are you doing here? Which I thought, the longer I've been sober, what a great question, because he wanted me to say that I'm an alcoholic. And I kind of said something, well, my life, I felt like I needed to. He said, do you have a problem with drinking? Yeah, I'm an alcoholic. He like drew it out of me, and it was beautiful. In hindsight, I could see what he was doing. And it was great comfort. These are people I identified with. The fact that they were sober, pointing the way for me, it was very positive.
My experience was very positive too. I went to a clubhouse meeting, scared to death, not even sober yet. And somebody handed me this laminated piece of paper at the beginning before the meeting started. And I'm like, oh, they must know I'm new. They give this out so I know what's going on. And no, people started reading from those things. And I was terrified and I passed it down and someone finally took it. But across the room, I saw someone that I knew. As soon as that meeting was over, I was out into the parking lot. He was right after me and talked with me and made me feel so much more comfortable. It was that connection with someone, we were acquaintances only, but just that little bit of relationship that we had helped me get that much more comfortable with coming to a meeting.
Yeah.
So I think it's a fantastic idea. If you see someone come into the meeting that you know, speak with them, welcome them, make them feel comfortable.
Okay, there's this. Madeline sent a second question, Susan and Sam. What happens if I meet someone from meetings in the outside world? Do I pretend not to know them?
My experience with that is I do see people from the meetings in the outside world when I'm with somebody else and I greet somebody and afterwards they say, well, how do you know this person? So I'm not going to break my friend's anonymity. That's my choice. Oh, I know I'm in a club. I know I'm in a clubhouse. I know I'm from church. All three of those answers are sort of true.
Yeah, that's very much where I am. I will say hello and we all have something in common.
What do you use when they say, well, how did you two meet?
That one for me is we travel in the same circles.
Oh, that's good. I often say, oh, we met at a church function one time.
Yeah.
I had met someone early in recovery outside of the meeting, and we were totally alone, the two of us, and I had no idea whether I should acknowledge it or not. And in that situation, one-on-one, yes. And we can talk about recovery as long as it's not in earshot of anyone else. I won't be putting them in a position where they're having to reveal something they don't want to reveal. However, I ran up on a friend having coffee with someone else, and I went up and said hello and never mentioned that we knew each other in AA because I didn't know if she was with someone she wanted to reveal her anonymity to. So, no, I'm not going to do it there. You have to figure these things out.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. It plays right into what's going on in social media.
Oh, yeah.
I have a whole circle of friends on social media who are in the program. The ones that are in service are really careful about anonymity. The ones that are just in the meeting post their coins, give the high sign because you've got so many years, They break their anonymity in Facebook. The people in service do not break their anonymity. I'm not going to say, great, you've got 20 years because you posted your coin.
Right.
And the reason that I won't do that is that my friends that don't know, they will think, aha, Susan must be an AA.
Right. And the tradition is we are anonymous at the level of press, radio, and films, which is to say at the public level, and Facebook certainly is a public level.
Sure.
Well, so I'm at a different point in this, in that at a public level, I do not identify myself as a member of Alcoholics Anonymous.
I don't either.
But I do identify myself as someone who is in recovery.
I do too.
And so I do post my anniversary on Facebook.
Mm-hmm.
And I'll post it as a public post because part of what I'm doing is reaching people who don't know that they can get help or don't know that I'm someone who has gone through this. And so I don't post a picture of a coin. I post a picture of a number. And I type up something about, 20 years ago or whatever it is. And I have found a solution that works for me. If you want to talk about it, reach out. Let's get a coffee or let's talk on the phone. So I put it out there as I'm in recovery. I found something that works that helps me stay sober. If you'd like to know about it, let's talk.
I like that, Sam.
Do you have friends that don't know you're in recovery?
I would say probably not because I am public about my recovery.
Okay.
Me neither. I think everybody knows I'm in recovery.
Because I have a whole circle of people, family members, that don't know I'm in recovery.
Yep. And this is a personal choice.
Absolutely.
This is not an AA thing that at a certain point you need to reveal. It's just where you are with it and what works for each individual. It's a beautiful thing about AA. Everyone gets to decide for themselves, and we don't break other people's anonymity.
Mm-hmm.
Don, I love in the other podcasts we used to do, we did something along the lines of, we don't have a monopoly on recovery. This works for us. There are many ways to get sober. But within AA, there are many ways that we get sober and stay sober. I think it's so important for us to all have these conversations because it makes things a little less rigid. We are not a rules-based organization. We have suggestions and we share our experience, strength, and hope in hopes that that will help someone.
Although Tradition 4 is written for the groups, what you just described is Tradition 4, that each one of us here has a different perspective.
Mm-hmm.
Each group should be autonomous except in matters affecting other groups or AA as a whole.
It's the autonomy of being able to practice your program.
Susan, this has been great talking to you, hearing about your autonomy and your sobriety and your service work. Thanks for all you do, and thanks for being here today.
Thank you so much, Susan.
Thanks for giving me the time. I appreciate it.
The Grapevine strives to be self-supporting.
Please subscribe to the magazine or app and visit the Grapevine online store.
The app is free in your phone's app store and has great content and features provided at no cost to you.
But if you subscribe, you get so much more. And you support all things Grapevine, including this podcast.
Oh, yeah.
Only $2.99 a month.
This joke submitted by Jack A. in Suffield, Connecticut.
Did you find your drinking affected your relationship with other people?
Sure. I always felt inferior, but after 3 drinks, I felt as good as you. After 3 more, I felt better than you. And after 3 more, it was imperative that I show you.
It's really not that funny. Thanks for joining us. The AA Grapevine Half-Hour Variety Hour is posted every Monday and is produced by AA Grapevine, Inc. We don't speak for AA as a whole. We share the experience, strength, and hope of members to help others recover from alcoholism. All things Grapevine are available at aagrapevine.org, including our app and how to get in touch with us. Find us on Instagram and YouTube. If you want to know more about AA, visit aa.org or search online for Alcoholics Anonymous and your city.